Welcome back to Soul Knowledge, the home of the sneaker story and the home of sports culture insights. I'm your host, Bernie Wickham, and tonight we delve into the Nike Genesis sneaker, and that is the Cortez. And this is what it looked like. Some of you look at the image and think, you know what, it looks a bit like the Cortez, but Bernie, you've got the wrong brand on the screen. And I want to tell you that is how it started. And tonight we explore how we get from here to here, and why the Cortez left such a massive imprint on sports culture. This is a goodie. Let's get into it. Thanks to the Soul Knowledge community for keeping in touch, for liking, for following and subscribing. Thanks for all the requests for the episodes that you guys would be keen on. If you also see any product that you believe would be a great story that you'd want to share and you want to be in touch with, maybe share some of your sneakers, please hit me up on this email address. And for our newcomers, we are available on Instagram, Facebook, at soulknowledge.com. And at the end of every single episode, we put your skills to the test, where we show one sneaker in 1 second and we see if you have the ability to identify that image with a little bit of exposure. Our story starts off in the mid-60s, where Phil Knight and track coach Bill Bowerman form a partnership in a company called Blue Ribbon Sports. They become the West Coast distributors of a Japanese-based brand named Onitsuka Tiger. Now when you see the product, it looks very familiar because the same branding on Onitsuka Tiger is the same branding that you would see on Asics running shoes. And that's because they've become the same company. As a side note, Asics is actually an acronym for a Latin phrase which says anima sana in corpo sano, which is a sound mind in a healthy body. Now Bill Bowerman is an obsessive track coach, so obsessed in fact that he creates the running shoes for his own athletes. And in doing so, in understanding how the shoe is created, he becomes quite intimate with footwear and also the injuries as a result of them. One of his athletes in particular, Kenny Moore, starts to show an injury that is as a result of not having sufficient arch support in the running shoe. So Bowerman looks at this and tries to retool several sneakers and comes up with a solution that he shares with the guys in Japan. The guys respond with sending him a sample of a pair of sneakers that meets Bowerman's spec to solve the problem. And the guys ask him, what would you want to name the shoe? Now remember, it's 67 and the next year is the 1968 Mexico Olympics. And in taking inspiration from that, Bowerman says, let's call it the Aztec. They agree on the name, and not too long from then, Adidas gets wind of the Aztec that's coming through in Blue Ribbon Sports. And they kick up a fuss because they say that in the year 1968, they plan to launch a running spike called the Azteca Gold. And as a result of that, the guys had to change the name. But Bill Bowerman sitting with Phil Knight and he says, what is the name of the guy who brought the Aztec Empire to its knees? And Phil Knight says, it's the Spanish conquistador Hernan Cortez. And he says, fine, let's call it the Cortez. Now bad blood had begun to settle in between Blue Ribbon Sports and Onitsuka Tiger, which actually ended up in a lawsuit where the intellectual property on the Cortez was in discussion. The outcome of the lawsuit was that both companies could continue in creating the product of the Cortez, but only one of them would be able to hold on to the name Cortez, and that was given to the guys at Blue Ribbon Sports. To this day, Onitsuka Tiger does continue to create the Cortez under the name Cos Air. You'll see it in its original colorway and still being produced to this very day. But in the year 1972, Blue Ribbon Sports rebrands itself as Nike and introduces their first runner, and this is the original Cortez. This one came out in 1972, which was also the same year as the 1972 Munich Olympics. And incidentally, it is at those Olympics that Bill Bowerman himself represents the United States as a track coach for the United States track team. Successful launch for the product and a successful launch for the Nike brand. This key feature is Bowerman's midsole, which in this case was using sheet EVA in the midsole. And in my next episode, as I promised you, we're going to dive a lot deeper into midsoles. But this is where it all starts. When you have a look at the Cortez today compared to technology as we know it in today's day and age, it seems very unassuming. But it's important to know that this shoe ushered in a new era of running. For the first time, runners could run for longer distances with more cushioning and also receive less injuries as a result of it. So this enabled the running movement. But in the year 1976, this image from Farrah Fawcett in Charlie's Angels propels the Cortez from a performance sneaker into athleisure, a sneaker that can be worn beyond the track and moves it into just the popularity of the public eye. But it's also in the year 1994 that Hollywood introduces us to the fictional character of Forrest Gump, a man with limited mental ability that has the ability to achieve the unfathomable. One of the feats that he achieves is running for absolute long distances in the Cortez, a shoe that he received from his beloved Jenny, for long. And as a matter of fact, I'll let Forrest himself tell you how long he ran for.
I had run for 3 years, 2 months, 14 days, and 16 hours.
Quiet, he's gonna say something.
I'm pretty tired. Think I'll go home now. And just like that, my running days was over.
Let me conclude by sharing this with you. I believe that every sneaker lover should own a pair of Cortez. It's a part of footwear history that you've just gotta have. It's a part of the timeline that you say, I've got to walk in. It's just a non-compromise when it comes to footwear, and I believe this color is the most important of them all. I'm going to be showing you 3 more sneakers in the Cortez line that is of importance. Now check this out. After the Farrah Fawcett image went live, it was as if the state of California had just gravitated towards the message of the Cortez. It became the sneaker of choice on the streets. And Nike wanted to ensure that moving forward, the brand message would come from somebody based in California. The most recent of which is Kendrick Lamar, and that is Compton-based Kendrick. And on screen right now, you see one of the more recent shoes done for him, and this is the Kung Fu Kenny versions of the Cortez. Nike then also highlighted 2 cities prominent in hip-hop within California, the first of which is the city of Compton. This is the Compton Cortez. What makes it significant is that it has used inspiration from Eazy-E, the leader of the world's most dangerous group NWA's hat, to deliver the message of Compton at the back. You see the same CPT script pulling through. At the same time, Nike looked at Long Beach, California, the home of Snoop Doggy Dogg, and Compton and Long Beach together. Now you know you're in trouble. Send me a message if you know which song I'm referring to over there. Then Los Angeles represents with Mr. Cartoon. This is a very influential tattoo artist who's done several sneakers with Nike. This is his rendition of the Cortez. And as you can see, he's removed the swoosh and replaced it with an Aztec warrior. Aztec giving reference to my previous story. And the Aztec pyramid pulling through at the back. So this is in actual fact the Nike Cortez Aztec. Then, concluding with a local story, this over here is the Cortez made in South Africa. For a certain period of time, Cortez was made locally over here in South Africa, and Jigs, the guy who had given me this sneaker, and the guy that also shared his Mr. Cartoons with me, a former colleague of mine at Nike, had shared that before production had gone live, the guys producing it said, listen, give us a colorway, we'll produce one for you before we go live, and Jigs chose Vault and Obsidian Blue as the colorway of choice. And this had gone live before production for the rest of South Africa had been switched on. So Jigs, thank you for this, a great local story. And for everybody else, thank you for watching Soul Knowledge. This has been a great episode for one of my favorite sneakers. Hold on for one sneaker in 1 second. And my next episode is going to be on midsoles. You don't want to miss that one for your Soul Knowledge.